Get your Cheetos and your Slurpee because she was introduced to many of us on season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race, where she death dropped her way into our living rooms, had us bopping to her music saying, "Look at me," and she showed off her dance background on So You Think You Can Dance. Her name is Laganja Estranja, and she's about to be exposed. Hey, Laganja.
And a Slurpee? Aw, you're spoiling me.
Yes, you got the reference. For those who didn't, we'll put a clip right now.
Hey, you got my Cheetos?
Got your Cheetos.
And the Slurpee?
And a Slurpee.
Oh, you're spoiling me.
So, Laganja, let's get started. You were born and raised in what, Dallas, Texas?
That's right. She's a good old Southern gal, honey, raised in Dallas, Texas. Actually, Carrollton, Texas, which is outside of Dallas. It's a small suburb. But I always tell people Dallas, A, because it is the biggest city to where I was, and B, I did end up going to the Arts Magnet High School, Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, which is in Dallas, Texas. So that's why I really claim Dallas as my home, because obviously in high school, that's when I really discovered my artistic abilities.
What was baby Laganja like? Like, what were you like as a child?
I was pretty much the same person I am now. Very creative, hardworking, a perfectionist, a Capricorn through and through. I faced many challenges as most queer individuals, especially growing up in Texas, which is fairly conservative, although Dallas is pretty liberal. I'm proud to say it is a blue city. But, you know, I faced those challenges like most queer people. But pretty much I had an incredible childhood. My parents were very supportive. I was enrolled in musical theater at a young age and began performing professionally by the time I was 14 years old. So I was really lucky to, you know, have their support and to have them recognize my gifts and to promote those gifts, as opposed to what happens to many queer people, which is, you know, not receiving the love they deserve and need.
And I think that that's a big thing about your whole story and your art, because I remember your time on Drag Race when you got your video message. And then you discussed shortly after that, like your mom had gone with you to get heels at the store. And then last night in your Instagram live, you were talking about how you really just hope that you please your parents. You know, you were like, I hope that this video and I hope that they're happy with what I, you know, put out there. What do you think it is about your parents that you have such a good relationship with them and them understanding what you want to do with your career and your life?
Well, you know, my parents aren't perfect people. They've made many mistakes throughout their lifetime. More specifically, I would say, I think with my sister and raising her, she's older than me and she is queer as well. And so she faced a lot of, you know, trials and tribulations with them when she came out. And I think because of their mistakes that they made with her, I got really lucky and I got like the star treatment all the way around, which obviously I think has been difficult for my sister to see me get this different treatment than she was receiving. But I think on the other hand, it just goes to show that my parents are still constantly growing, just like everyone. And I think that's the coolest thing about my parents, is that they grow. And while they didn't like drag and they didn't support it, you know, a year ago when I was trying to quit this, they were like, you can't. So I think it's really cool how they come full circle. And I think that's what makes me look up to them as individuals, because that's what I want to be. I want to be someone who's constantly growing. And even at the age of 73 is still learning. And whether that be from young people, old people, I think, you know, the one of my favorite quotes by India Ari is a song about how young people can learn from old people and vice versa. And I really feel that with my parents. I feel like they birthed me. They taught me everything I know. And now it's like my turn to teach them what I've learned because of them. And I think they are growing and they are, you know, going with this. And while they're not too thrilled about my new single Daddy and the highly sexual nature of it all, you know, I reminded them at 14 years old, they took me to see Cabaret, which is to this day still my favorite musical. And I remember when we left the theater, my parents were like, well, we probably shouldn't have taken you to see that because it was very mature. We saw the revival, so it's definitely a lot more risque than the Joel Grey, Liza Minnelli version. But it really did. It influenced me so much. And the determination level that they taught me at a young age is really what pushes me forward.
Speaking of pushing, what pushed you to do dance? And when was the first time that you knew that you wanted to get into this scene? I mean, looking at your resume and what you have under your belt, I mean, you went to school for dance. You ended up getting the Presidential Scholar, and like you were a choreographer. You ended up doing all this stuff. When did you know, hey, I want to dance?
Well, growing up in musical theater, you had to be good at all three: acting, singing, and dancing. So at a young age, I was exposed to dancing. It was really the first time I felt accepted. Being on the soccer field with the boys, it just never really worked for me. The minute my parents placed me in a room with a mirror to look at myself and air conditioning, honey, I was set. Things were good to go. So for me, dance just kind of chose me. It was of the three what I was strongest at, and it was the language that I felt was the most universal. You know, as someone who's traveled the world, I can tell you when I do my signature dip move, people react to this. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter what color you are, how you identify. When you see me do that movement, it 9 times out of 10 makes people happy. And that to me is so powerful. The fact that I have a language inside of myself that I can go anywhere in the world and people can understand that. And so that's why I became so obsessed with becoming a choreographer, because I felt that was kind of the wizard behind the curtain, right? That's the person who really tells the story. Yes, it's the director. The director, of course, is, you know, giving people backstories and telling them to cross here and cross there. But it's really the choreographer's job, in my opinion, to be the glue of everything and to weave the story together and to make the transition seamless. And so that's what I wanted to be and still want to be. As much as I love being Laganja and being a star, I don't believe I'll be super gluing nails to my fingers for the rest of my life. I don't see that in my plan, but I do see, you know, me having my own international dance company that travels around the world and me hosting after parties at these nightclubs that I've made these connections with. And if the money is right, maybe I'll get up in the gig too. But ultimately, I just feel like when you have that control and you're able to be the storyteller, it's the most exciting. Of course, I love being on stage and performing for thousands or 10 people, whatever. I love performing. It doesn't matter how many people really. But to me, to be able to sit in the audience and watch a story that I helped intertwine, that's the most powerful thing to me. And as a stoner, you know, yeah, I like to enjoy my artwork. I don't want to have to be the artwork and fall on my back all the time. I want to see the young kids fall on their back and me be like, yeah, good job, do it harder next time, you know?
Well, speaking of that, you end up taking your choreography skills and you end up teaching with Drag Race alum Alyssa Edwards at Beyond Belief. So let me ask you, how did you end up even learning about Beyond Belief, and how did you end up walking through those doors to become a choreographer?
So I knew Alyssa as Justin Johnson first and foremost. We began our relationship in 2000 and I graduated high school in 2007. At that point, I was working for his competitor studio. I was working for her for a couple summers during college. So I'm going to guess around 2009, I began not receiving work from the competitor studio that I was working at. And so I reached out to Justin and I said, hey, I teach at this studio. I'm sure you've seen my work. I am award winning. And I think that I would be a good addition to your team. You know, your competitor is no longer hiring me. I think it would be really sickening of you to come and hire me, and let's show her what we've got. So he gave me an audition. I came in, I taught my first class, and, you know, he loved me right away. He saw that my teaching skill was very different than his. He's a very strict and hard teacher, and I'm a very encouraging, loving teacher. Not to say he's not, of course he is, but it's very good cop, bad cop, right? And so we made a really good balance as a team, and I was able to provide different types of choreography than what he had. He was very competitive and clean lines. And so then I came in with this whole artist mentality and weirded it up a little bit. So that was incredible. I worked at that studio for 10 years at Beyond Belief.
Wow. And is it true that he was the one who put you in drag for the first time?
So yes and no. Yes and no. Truly, I began my drag career out here in Los Angeles. Obviously, Alyssa still lives in Texas to maintain the studio as well as life. And so, you know, I was put in drag several times by my friends out here. In fact, the very first person who ever put me in drag was Alley Cat. That's her name. I don't even think she does drag anymore. But Alyssa was definitely the first one to really take me under her wing, to be my mother and to, you know, guide me into this drag world.
And I had heard that your name had come from a drag friend of yours in college. Now, is that true that you wanted a little rhyming entendre?
Exactly. So I was inspired by my dear friend. His name is Marcus. He goes by Marquita Velveeta. And I just loved two things. I loved how his name rhymed, and I loved how his name Marcus and Marquita, it was kind of a pun for his original name. So I liked this idea of a pun and it rhyming. So that's kind of how I came to Laganja Estranja. And everyone always asks me, how did you get it? And it's like, well, girl, I really don't remember. I was smoking, obviously. But I think I was highly inspired by my friend's drag name for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's so funny hearing people's origin stories because literally half the queens have no idea how they came up with it. Just like you said, it's like, I was just smoking. It probably just came to me. And some of the best thoughts do come to you when you have that high. So, I mean, what can you say? So you start performing as Laganja Estranja. You start getting into the club scene. And excuse me, miss, I heard that it was December of 2012. You end up competing in your first contest at Mickey's, and then you end up getting a little leeway into the Showgirls review. Is that all accurate?
That is all accurate. Yes, I had done several competitions up to that point. In fact, I'd won Queen of Queens out here in the IE in Pomona, which Raven was the host of at the time. And so I actually also had won Rhea Latrey's Star of the Year award, which I just have to give a huge shout out to my girl, Rhea Latrey, honey, Quarantine Queen season 2. Check it out every Wednesday, 7 p.m. on Instagram. But, winning the Mickey's title, for those of you who are not familiar with Mickey's, it's the probably largest, most known, next to the Abbey, gay club here in Los Angeles, and they are known for their drag shows, whereas the Abbey is more known for its socialites and drinks and that. So anyways, I entered this competition, and the way you win was by packing the house and getting the most applause. So when I tell you I made everyone from my college come, literally my mentors, all my teachers, they were like, we've never stayed up this late in years. I'm like, well, get your old ass over to the club and cheer for this queen. And I was actually competing against Adore at the time. We grew up in drag right alongside one another. And so long story short, I ended up taking home the crown that evening. And because of that, I became a regular in the Mickey's nightclub showgirl night. So that really forced me to kind of take this a lot more seriously than I was at the time. I definitely was enjoying it. It was definitely something I was doing seriously. But once I won that competition, the numbers on the followers numbers? No, the numbers followers. Oh, who knows? She's high. The followers started to increase, and I began to really take it serious. And I knew that in that moment, this was a viable career. And I think up to that point, it had just been something I hoped for or dreamed for. But when it became a reality and I saw I could actually make cash money, honey, I was like, okay, sign me up. Let's do this full time.
Yeah, and speaking of full-time, it's literally only 2 years after that. In 2014, you end up on season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Now, where were you when you got that phone call?
I was living in Van Nuys, which is known as the Valley. Shout out to the 818, honey. She was a Valley girl for many years. Very proud of that. I was in my living room standing over my kitchen counter, and I remember looking at my best friend, and I said, who was managing me at the time, Kristen Lovell, and I said, it's them. They're calling. And I put it on speaker, and yeah, they told me I got the job, and it was amazing. I was so excited. I was 23 years old. I had never really been introduced to Hollywood. This was my first time, my first big break. So it was a lot of joy.
Well, you literally brought so many people joy. Right when you walked in, you end up doing your famous death drop. Everybody's talking about it.
Oh, y'all wanted a twist, eh? Come on, season 6, let's get sick me! Yeah.
Yes, bitch. Work.
Did you know in that moment that would be reality TV gold?
So 2 things. I want to just correct you because maybe you don't know, but the term death drop is actually incorrect for that movement. The proper terminology is dip. This is information that I received after being on the show, which shame on me for not trying to receive the proper dance education, especially as a dancer. So I just wanted to correct you on that. That move is technically known as The Dip. It has been appropriated to be Death Drop. And second, absolutely, I knew it was going to be good TV. That's why I planned it from day one, and I knew exactly what I was going to say. I'm a rehearsed queen, honey. I don't think there's anything wrong with being prepared and knowing what you want. And so, yeah, it worked out just as I planned, and I'm very thankful for it.
Well, you have spoken in other articles and with other interviewers about how reality TV is not necessarily your thing and you don't like being, totally in the space. When you were on Drag Race, what was it about reality TV that you don't think that Laganja likes? Like, what do you not think that you like about the reality TV aspect?
Gosh, well, there's a lot of things I don't like about reality television. One, it's not real, so I think it's misleading. Two, it's basically like cheap actors. So instead of paying us what we're worth, we just call it reality, but we're still acting. They call cut. We have to retake. If I said something, it didn't get heard. So there is an element of that, which I don't like. And I guess those are the two things that bother me the most. I think, as I said, I was 23, I was young. I didn't really understand how reality television worked. I didn't understand even when I left. When I left the show, I thought I nailed it. I thought I was hysterical. I thought people loved me. That's why it was such a shock when everybody came for me in Untucked, because really up to that point, it wasn't like Ben de la Creme where people had told her, you're being a character, this voice is phony. No one had said that stuff to me. So when that stuff came out, it was like, wait, what? I'm so confused here because all the producers on my interviews are laughing their asses off. I thought this was funny. So I think it's not trickery. It's not. At the end of the day, the editors, the producers, they're doing their job, and you sign up for that. Read that print, mama. Print and get lawyers. It's in there. I just, again, was so young and so excited that I didn't really know what I'd bitten off. And I think, after doing that process, I said in many interviews I would never do reality television again, which is why so many people were shocked when I went back to So You Think You Can Dance. And I'm really glad that I finally got the courage to do that, because that process really changed my mind again on reality television and kind of gave me hope, because I felt like that show was more focused on the talent aspect. The only drama you were really going to get was if someone broke their ankle, but it wasn't going to be about, John pushing over whoever. So I really began to see that for reality television, it's all about the environment and what kind of works with, what I do. So I am very open to reality television. I very much want to continue doing reality television, but I don't necessarily want to do competition reality shows. Unless it's Dancing with the Stars. I've been trying to get on that show for years, so I'm still vying for that. But my ultimate goal when it comes to reality television is that I would like to have my own show that focuses on my art making. I put out my own series this year called Muse Me with my dear friend Robert Heyman, which is kind of a behind the scenes look at our collaborative process from conception to creation to the final product. We do high fashion photos. And so that's something that I would love to get picked up. We've also worked on an original cartoon that we're currently pitching to networks. I'm also on another friend's show that's written about the beauty, not beauty influencer, but the beauty school. It's about beauty school. And I play one of the characters who's in the beauty school. It would be a non-fictional role for me. So, those are the kinds of things that I'm really trying to explore. If other reality shows come to me and I have the opportunity, of course I'm going to do that. I would be silly not to. And a chance back on TV is a chance to continue the brand and to continue to develop in who I want to be. But ultimately, that's not the space I want to occupy.
Yeah, and you were talking about drama and how reality pulls from drama. Now, if you go on YouTube and you type in your name, there's a video that is the most dramatic moments of Laganja Estranja with over 1.7 million views.
I feel very attacked.
Relax.
I'm probably going to lip sync and they're going to send my ass home and you can all have a good time and laugh about it.
Now, looking at that, do you think that you were dramatic your season, looking back on what you saw?
Yeah, girl, I was so dramatic. I am dramatic. That's what I mean. That's just who I am. I cry every single day. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I grew up in musical theater with glitter and sets and lights and big gay personalities and gender queer people. And yeah, it was dramatic. Are you kidding? We're making a television show. That's why it was so shocking to me that people were like, oh, you're doing so much. It's like, well, Mary, yeah. Are you kidding me? You guys are coming in sweatpants. Like, how boring. You didn't think about how you were going to look as a boy. Like, of course I thought about that. Like, and now you're looking at me because I'm weird because I thought about that and I care about how I appear at all times. Girl, bye on all of that. And then that's why in the reunion, when RuPaul asked me, like, would you do it differently or anything? I was like, I'm just trying to turn the party. Yes, God. And I still stick to that because at the end of the day, I'm having a good time and the people around me are laughing at my crazy high ass. And if you're not, well, girl, no tea, go watch one of these boring queens. That's fine. There's a queen for everybody out there. And I love that about the franchises. More and more queens we get, you know, people feel like we're watering it down or we're this, we're that, or we're losing the undergroundness. No, girl, we are allowing people to find what it is that they love and identify with in different people. And I think that's really special. I think, you know, from day one with RuPaul's Drag Race, that's why I was attracted to the show, because we got to see gay men in a positive light, not as these weird child molester tranny dressers, but as these real individuals with, you know, diseases, with breakups, with, you know, parental issues. I mean, I just love that we are expanding on gay culture and we're getting over this thing, because that is, I am just Jack, okay? I am the glitter and the gay and the twink and all that, but I'm not everyone. And there are so many different type of queer people that people can love and identify with. And, you know, that's why I love Dragula. I think that show's incredible. I'm such a huge fan of this spooky, kooky drag, you know? So I say the more the merrier. Let's just get in there and muck it up.
I absolutely love that, because what you said right there, you said, you know, Drag Race and these shows give gay people a way to express themselves. And you can see, you know what, the cookie cutter image of what we saw on Will and Grace 15, 20 years ago is not the gay person that everybody is. We're not all a stereotype. We're all so many different people. And I think you really did show yourself and you exposed yourself in a little light, and, you know, you showed people exactly who you are. You end up coming off the show, and you, I believe, were one of the first queens that I remember. I believe it was you and Adore that I remember who actually were like profiting off the merch business, because back then it wasn't like the craziest thing to be doing merch and stuff. And then you really were taking your whole persona under the wing. When you got home and you started seeing yourself on the show, what was the fan reaction like back then to you? Was it what you expected?
First, I just want to say I've never profited off merch. I really wish I was that girl, but no, that's why I currently have no merch, because all the merch I make, nobody buys, and then I'm left with debt. Okay, so let's just clear that up real quick. But new merch will be dropping soon, November 30th for Daddy. No, so the question was really, how did I deal with the fans' reaction? I was sad. I was so sad. I was depressed. I was heartbroken. You know, when people found me annoying and fake and phony and didn't like me, I was just so sad. All I wanted was for people to think I was hysterical and fun and kooky and zany and wild and all the things I am. And, you know, unfortunately here in America, I would say the reception was predominantly negative. Now, as I began my travels and went to other countries, I realized, well, America is boring and has a stick up their butt, and everyone else totally got my gig and thought I was great and over the top and dramatic and fun and love to hate and hate to love and whatever. And I, you know, found myself. But I went through a very deep depression, a huge struggle, you know, became a raging alcoholic, endangered my life, other lives around me, was completely irresponsible, did not care about myself, lost, you know, hope in humanity and my job. And it really wasn't until my professionalism was affected by my drinking that I woke up, because I think that's something I've always held myself, you know, accountable for, being a professional, you know, from a young age. Like I said, growing up in musical theater, working with adults at 14, touring the United States. I care about my professionalism. I care about what people think. And so when I realized that, you know, my drinking had gotten so bad that I was I don't think I ever showed up late because I'm not a late girl, but I think I would get sloppy and mess up meet and greets. And I don't even know. It was bad. It was bad, and that was when I finally snapped out of it. And it took 3 long years of, no drinking, no drugs. I did smoke cannabis because that's medicine to really, find myself. And I'm happy to say now I'm able to drink with moderation and that I'm very responsible and that, I'm able to engage and have a good time, but I know my limits. And I don't think that's the case for most alcoholics. I think that I'm very lucky. And I think that it's still something I have to keep an eye on to this day and most likely will for the rest of my life because it is a very slippery slope and it could be something, easily that I could go down again. Not really easily, but I'm just saying I acknowledge that even though I've moved forward and gotten over my depression and these dark days, it's not to say that they won't come again. It's just that now I have the skills to deal with them.
And for you to realize that is big in its own self, especially when you're talking about professionalism. But I can only imagine if you are not getting the fan reaction that you want after season 6, and then you start doing these gigs and you're drinking to fill that void, and then your professionalism is being affected now, that would keep pushing you down. And then for you to be able to pull yourself out of that hole says a lot about you as a person and a lot about you as a professional artist. Do you think, like, looking back on it, like, did you miss out on any opportunities, or do you feel like that part of your life was affected dramatically by your drinking?
I'm the believer everything happens for a reason. So I believe that everything I went through was good. I really do. It made me stronger. It made me who I am. And I'm able to speak to others on this. I'm able to relate to other people on this. And without the struggle, we don't have the success. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm very grateful. Do I wish that I hadn't put other people in harm's way? 100%. Do I wish that I love myself more? Absolutely. But do I regret going through that? No, I don't. And if I had to do it all over again, I really probably wouldn't do it differently because I'm very happy with where I'm at now. And I don't think I'd be here now had I not gone through all that.
It's always a learning lesson. Always the worst parts of your life will always help you grow into a better person.
If you allow them to.
Yeah, that is true. If you allow them to. Now, one thing the fans really wanted to know was what was the tea on your What You Packin' with Michelle Visage?
Okay, see, now I've heard about this too, which is so interesting. I wonder what the tea on that is. I really don't know. It definitely aired. It definitely was up for many years, I think. But I think when they re-uploaded or something, now that one episode is missing. I had seen this on Twitter before. I don't know the tea on that. All I can say to expose that whole situation was, I hated Michelle Visage. I really did. I thought she was mean to me and she broke me down, and now I'm eliminated and y'all want to tell me the very next day I have to interview with her and I got to get in drag to do that? Oh, girl, please. So I was over it, and she knew when she walked in, honey, I had green hair. I wore green from head to toe. I wanted her to know, oh yeah, you hate green. We'll get into this. And she walked in and she was like, look, we could do this on camera or we can do this off camera. So I was like, go for it, mama. And she did. She basically just broke it down for me. And she was like, look, I have to play a character. This is me. I'm the mean judge. I've got kids at home to feed. And this is what it is. This is what TV is. I love you. I hate that I've hurt you. I don't want you to feel hurt. I think you're an amazing artist, but this is the way TV works, basically, and broke it down to me. And, I appreciated that. I appreciated her realness and her honesty in that moment. And, she's become a huge supporter of mine. When I got sober, she was so there for me and so strong and cheering on in that. And, I felt her love really ever since the show. So I'm grateful that our relationship has come to a positive place. And now when I wear green, I think she's able to laugh.
I actually love that story. It's actually really cute. And you end up, after Drag Race, you end up touring the world. You end up having the House of Edwards with Shangela. You have Alyssa there. You end up in 2015 at the MTV VMAs with Miss Miley Cyrus. How was that, and how did that come to be?
That was definitely a life-changing experience. The way that came to be was Miley was just a fan of the House of Edwards and had reached out to us. And because I was here in LA and actually ended up happening to live right down the street from her and was a pot smoker, the connection was made, the friendship was formed, and, you know, she loves dancing and I'm a dance teacher. And so, you know, we would get high and make up little dances and it was just, you know, fun. And then one day she approached me and said, I really want to do this big performance with a bunch of queens. Can you help me? Can you choreograph? Can you organize? And of course, I was like, yes, I would love to do this. So it was an extreme honor to be able to not only employ my fellow artists and friends, but to be able to stage something of that grand nature. It was a dream come true. And it's something that I'll always be grateful for and that I'll never forget. You know, I'm very, very proud of that accomplishment.
You should be, because it also gave kind of the regular, you know, 18 to 24 person who's watching MTV, might be cis, like, you know, straight, into a world of drag queens. It gave people not like, you don't have to turn on RuPaul's Drag Race. It was on the VMAs. And that was kind of like the first stage that I had seen, like an actual concert stage or award show where a lot of drag queens were featured, which I think is really cool because Miley's always been very adamant about the queens as well, which says a lot about her as a person, doesn't use you guys as props. Do you ever believe that there are people or are artists who use queens as props or for the attention or news articles?
Yes. Yes, I do. I think there's many. The list goes on and on. I keep meeting them and working with them. So yes, the queens have always been used and will always continue to be used. And I think that's because we're good people. We ultimately want to do good things. And so if getting used in the process of making good happens, we're okay with it. And I think because we are so over the top and we do cause so much attention, it's just natural that artists and individuals would be attracted to this. Obviously, no one likes being used as a prop. However, I think it's better to be used as a prop and gain visibility and take over that mic with your uniqueness, nerve, and talent than it is to continue being a hidden secret. So to anyone who is out there who has used me, I thank you. And I know one day when I am in a position of power, I won't continue that process. And the people I work with will be paid for their time and appreciated for their work. And that's on that.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And let me ask you, okay, we're going to get into this. I've heard multiple rumors. You can free the air, say whatever you want in this moment, because a lot of fans do want to know. There have been multiple rumors about the downfall of the House of Edwards and you guys not discussing or talking. So there's been rumors about each of you had an ego and you guys wanted your own star power. There's the rumor that you didn't do Dancing Queen, and that's the reason why Alyssa and you guys were not the House of Edwards anymore. What was the reason why there's no more House of Edwards? Is there something that is actually so big behind it, or is it literally just like a girl group that just did its course?
Well, let me say this. And these are words from my mother's mouth, honey. The House of Edwards has never fallen. It is still up and running, baby. Go and check the studio. Go and check the lovely mansion that Alyssa lives in. There is no fall of the House of Edwards. It may not be what people once know, but at the end of the day, the House of Edwards is very much alive and thriving, and I am thrilled for Alyssa with all of my heart. I love her so much. And, you know, yes, there was a split in our friendship and we are not as close at all as we once were, but the love in our hearts for one another is very much there. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what matters. You know, there's always going to be moments in life where chapters close, and sometimes characters from those chapters don't continue on into the next one. But that doesn't mean that 3-4 chapters later, those characters won't appear again. And I have hope for that one day, but I also appreciate the distance and the time we have given one another to explore our own artwork and to explore our own identities. I think Was egos involved? Of course. It's 3 motherfucking drag queens. Excuse my language. You'll have to bleep that. But it's 3 drag queens. Yes, there was egos. Yes, there was, that girl group mentality where who's the Beyonce and, but at the end of the day, I really feel what happened truly is that we all became successful in our own right and that we all continue to do our own thing. And I don't think that that's a fall or a break. I just think that that's a natural transition. Not everything in life is going to be a perfect prepackaged thing. I mean, look at Gia and I and Team Too Much. We've had our ups and downs too. So, I think, like I said, at the end of the day, what's really important here, though, is we love each other. We care about each other. I celebrate their successes as I know they celebrate mine. And even if we don't call each other and tell each other that or follow each other or whatever the, hub may be, I know the love's there and they know the love's there too. And I think that's really all that matters. And that's why we don't make a big deal of it or do some big, expose thing on it because there's nothing really to expose. Friendships fell apart. People grew apart. We moved in different directions and that's okay. That's called life. And so that's it. I think the House of Edwards, like I said, is still very much on and thriving. I know Alyssa is working every day to keep that studio beyond belief kicking. We're all doing so amazing in our own right. And I think that's a true success story, and one day when someone has a lot of money, they'll put us back together and we'll be there, So if the kids want it, honey, they'll make it happen. It's that simple.
And I think that what you said there about you girls always giving each other the props, always loving each other. When I interviewed Alyssa a few months ago, and when she talked about the House of Edwards, she like lit up. She was happy. She had only good things to say about you, only good things to say about Shangela. It was just like, like you said, friendships can fall apart and it's all a part of life. And just like you said with, your Team Too Much and Gia, like you may have your ups, you may have your downs. That door is always open. At the end of the day, there's always another chapter. If you want to come back in, you come back in, knock, and you have a shoulder to cry on,
And for me, when I love someone, it's really hard. I think you'd have to like kill my mother. I just, when I love someone, I love them no matter what's the ups or downs or the disagreements or the this or the that. It doesn't matter to me. I love them. I mean, so many lessons were taught to me by Justin Johnson. I mean, every time I see a homeless person now, I think of him, and not to be shady because they're homeless and I'm thinking of him, but because he taught me to give them $1. You always have $1 from your drag in your purse. You better give that to them always. And so it's those little moments of kindness that she taught me. And it's so funny because, she's such a tough teacher, but she's a real big sweetheart at the end of the day. And I'm just grateful. I think the House of Edwards changed my career. It helped people see who I really was by having these 2 loved and adored queens have my back. It changed people's perspective. I know without their help and graciousness, I would not be here. I learned how to speak on a mic by watching the 2 of them every night, kiki, back and forth. I mean, you could ask them in the beginning. I was terrified to talk on the mic. If one of them had to change and I had to stall, oh no, ma'am, I was not that doll. I wanted to dance, look pretty, model, and that was it. But, because of them, I learned how to own my personality, to be comfortable in my own skin. And I don't know, I'm just so grateful and I love them both so much. And I think that's all that people need to know, regardless of what status is or that. I just love them.
I love that. And you want to know what else I love? I love your fucking music. I'm gonna have to bleep that word out. I want to get into music with you because in 2015, hold on, as I adjust myself. In 2015, you end up releasing basically your debut single, You Have Legs. And from there, you go into being on Alaska's album, Anus. You go into doing all of these other songs. My favorite song of yours, I said it at the front of the video, is Look at Me.
I'm fleet, I'm Gucci, I'm geeked. Pocket tour from my head to my feet. You're retired, expired, have a seat. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me.
I love the video. That song is the perfect song to pregame to. It's the perfect song to get ready to go out to. So I want to talk to you about what inspires you for your music And what inspires also the visuals, because you're very good with visuals. You're also very good with messages, like the look at me message about, marijuana, and you're starting to like politicize yourself a little bit more about these things. What inspires your music?
Missy Elliott. She's my number one inspiration in life. I love her for many, many reasons, but mostly because she was able to take pop music and put in real messages underneath there. And that's what I find to be the most successful art. Art that is topical, that lots of people can relate to, but is also very real and very serious and has a message. So for instance, when we're looking at Super Duper Fly, Missy Elliott wears this giant fat suit that blows her up. And she's making a commentary on the hypersexualization of the Black female body. Now, a lot of people may not know that. They may just see the hot song and there it is, and she looks cool and she's fly. But when you do your research and you get to know the artist, you understand that there is a real meaning and message behind every little thing she does. It's detailed and everything is thought out. And that's the kind of thing that really inspires me. Michael Jackson, when we talk about visuals, I think of him, number one. I mean, he was such a storyteller with his visuals. And that's specifically what I wanted to do with Look at Me. I wanted to make a mini thriller. I wanted to make a mini movie that had a message and told a story. And, it's these people who really inspire me. I love, all kinds of music. I think rap music is definitely my favorite and the type of music that I want to make as Laganja. But, I love opera. I love classical. I mean, I grew up in ballet. So, these were the kinds of tracks that I was listening to. Then I started going over to musical theater. So I have that whole love. Then I have my whole countryside because I'm from Texas. So, I get down with some Casey Musgraves. I mean, I just am very inspired by art in general. I think music absolutely is number one influence for me in life. And I think specifically when it comes to drag, I'm really attracted to the more artistic drag queens. Not to say that all drag queens aren't artistic, they are, but I guess I'm specifically talking about maybe say someone like Sasha Velour, who's very intellectual with her art, presenting it at the Smithsonian. These are the type of people that I want to be like and work with.
Now, we're going to get into Daddy at the end of this interview before we start getting into that. So I'm going to move in a little bit about your dance. Now, in 2016, you end up coming up with Laganja's Dance School. You are teaching choreography, high heels, master class, going from the U.S. over the world. What was that experience like for you? And do you think after COVID goes through, you're going to keep going on with that?
Well, first, I want to give a huge shout out to Kristen Lovell, who I mentioned earlier was managing me for a very long time. She actually was the one to start Laganja's Dance School. So I want to give credit where credit is due, which is always with me. Most always with me, a woman. There's always a woman behind me who has helped me get to where I am. So shout out to these strong women out there. And she organized this for me and was like, look, you're going to go to these dance schools and we're already flying you over here to Peru and you're there 2 days earlier. So why are you not going to teach a dance class before you go and perform? It's extra money. It's what you love to do. Like, I'm going to arrange it. Let's do this. So lo and behold, Miss Kristen rolled out. I mean, it's gone everywhere now. It's gone all over the world. It is so amazing to me. In fact, last night on my Instagram live, I know you were peeping me. She was a little medicated and feeling herself, but we had someone write, a comment just about the dance school and how much it meant to them. And that because of my school, they're now currently still dancing. And it's things like that, like these long impacts that I get to make on people in just 2 hours of a dance class that make me feel alive and make me feel like what I'm doing is not just a tongue pop and a dip, but actually meaningful art that's changing people's lives and helping them become the person they deserve to be, which is a happy, healthy individual who gets up and celebrates life through the movement of dance. So if I can help people, if I can help lead people to that, I've found for me that's really what fulfills me the most. It's not the applause. It's not the followers. No, it's these people going into their life now with confidence in the dance studio. I just think that's so cool. And so, yes, the minute quarantine is over, Mama will be back on the road, even if it means I have to do another one of my bootleg tours where I got in my car and drove around the U.S. because I miss my students so much, my buds, and I want to be back. I want to be back in the studio. I tried doing it over Skype and Zoom. Shout out to Broadway Dance Center, incredible, legendary dance studio in New York, which brought me on for Pride this year. I got to do a Zoom with them, which was great. But it's just not the same. It's really not. You know, I've gotten used to performing without an audience, but for me, teaching dance, it really is a hands-on, all-participant type of vibe that I need. So I can't wait to be back out there in the studio.
I also think it's such an amazing and cool thing because you also get a totally different experience with your fans. It's not a meet and greet where somebody's coming up to you and you only have 30 seconds to a minute with said person. You're actually teaching these people and you're having interactions and you're seeing these people love what you do. And then you get to see that they're loving what you do and they're dancing and putting forth all this effort. What is that experience like for you and just having fans and, you know, an audience of you're teaching something? Is that a different experience than a meet and greet?
It is a very different experience. I think anyone who's come to my dance school will tell you that you really get to see the real me. It kind of goes back to that idea of, you know, are you the same in and out of drag? And I am, but I do believe there is an element when I'm in the studio that allows me to tap into a truer form of myself. And so I think what's really cool is that I'm able to create an atmosphere where people feel comfortable to fail. They feel comfortable to make a fool of themselves because, well, they're with the biggest fool of them all, Gorge. It's Miss Laganja, so it doesn't get much kookier than that. So, you know, I think that's really cool. I think by being such a loud and bold individual, I inspire others to accept the fact that they are also loud and bold. And I think dance is a really great way for people to tap into that energy that I believe exists in all of us. I believe we all have an inner diva. Some of us have been more fortunate to really own that. But I think most people are told not to own that. They're told not to shine bright like a diamond. They're told to fit in. They're told to wear, gray sweatpants and do certain things. And I love being able to break that and to show people, no, you can do whatever you want in here. You can kitty cat crawl across the floor, or you could just walk normally. But whatever you do it with 100% of your energy and attention, because that's the point of this class. It's to get you out of your comfort zone, to have you sweat, and to ultimately have you walk away feeling a little bit more confident in who you are.
And you take that confidence in 2018. You end up on a little show called So You Think You Can Dance. Now, this is a different audience for you. It's not a drag race audience. This is primetime television. What was that experience like for you compared to, like, let's say a drag race or another reality show? And what did that teach you? And what did you love about it?
Well, So You Think You Can Dance was one of the most physically excruciating projects I've ever worked on. I trained for months on end. I had an incredible personal trainer, Jason Wimberly, who got me into shape. I mean, it was a very physically intense process. However, it was one of my favorite things I've done. I mean, I feel like I say that a lot, but it truly was. I mean, yes, being on the VMAs with Miley was incredible. It truly was. But this was so special to me because I grew up watching the show. I grew up hoping that one day I would be a dancer on So You Think You Can Dance. And there I was in full drag, like being everything I dreamed. And that to me was so powerful. And it just proved to me that, like, I could do anything. And no, I didn't make it on the show. Of course, I was very bummed about that. But I was on 2 seasons of So You Think You Can Dance as my queer little gay ass. And I just think that's amazing. And I'm just so proud that I was brave enough to put myself in there with 18-year-olds who could do leg kicks and spins all around me. And I still went in there and believed in myself. And, I still believe in myself. And even though the show has been canceled right now, I have every hope and belief that it will be brought back and that I will be a choreographer choreographer on that show one day. I do not believe my journey is over there, and I will continue to fight for it because the So You Think You Can Dance family is unbelievable. I've never felt so supported in my life. In fact, the showrunner Amy comments on my Instagram every other day. It's just unbelievable. I mean, Nigel Lithgow, who was so against queer, so openly against queer feminine men, I changed his perspective. I showed him that I could really dance, even though I chose to do drag as my art form and be this queer flamboyant individual. I too could fit the mold of a male dancer, and to be able to break that, I feel like that was so powerful, and it inspired a generation of other queer individuals to say, well, I should try out for that show too. So that just makes me so happy.
I'm glad that you did it. I'm glad that you decided, hey, reality TV may not have been the thing on RuPaul, and I didn't like that thing, but you went and you tried it. And that's one thing with you that I'm learning, especially from this whole interview. When you want something, you get it. And you put 100% confidence about it. And then you're teaching that confidence to other individuals and those who see it. And that, Missy, that says a lot.
Yeah, because I feel like everything I learn is a struggle. And so it's if I can help someone to not go through the same struggle that I went through, then yes, that's what I want to do, because I don't think everyone is as strong as me. I don't think everyone was given loving parents who taught them inner strength. And so I want to give the gifts that I've been given to other people. And I think that's what life is really about.
Well, another thing about your dance that a lot of fans want to know is under the YouTube description of Katya's teaser of her first music video, Ding Dong, there's written in the description box, choreography by Laganja Estranja. Is this true, or is Katya playing her shenanigans?
It's true, honey. I choreographed it. That's right, mama. She got the professional up in the studio to get her together. And I'm so thrilled, honestly. Obviously, Katya is a huge star. And for her to put her trust in me, it meant so much. And it was so much fun. Katya is an amazing performer, very athletic, had no trouble picking up the movement, totally nailed it on set. And I can't wait for you to see it. It's going to be really special.
Oh, that's so exciting to look forward to. I was like, oh, it's probably just Katya pulling another little rumor like Laganja did it. But that's great to know. What was it like working with Katya?
Well, we're very similar in the fact that we're zany and crazy and like to have a good time. But when it comes down to the work, we get very serious. And so, yeah, she was very serious. She took what I was doing. I mean, even though the movements were so silly, we took it very serious. And I love that about her. And, her energy on set was so calm and collected, which I think a lot of people maybe don't necessarily think of her that way. But she is. She's very professional, very good at her job, very reserved in many ways. And then, of course, the camera goes on and she goes bonkers. So it's just amazing. And like I said, I feel really lucky that someone of her caliber trusted me and not only trusted me, but really wanted me. I've had many people talk about using me. But very few queens actually come through. Alaska has been one of my favorite queens. She's always come through for me and, continued to use my talent over and over in her projects. And I just feel so grateful for that. And that's why ultimately I want to become more successful, because now I want to do that for people. I want to help other people and give them the chance to feel great about themselves.
Well, in the same vein, a music video, I know that you just recently were filming a music video for a little single that is called Daddy, that's going to be out on November 30th. You told me that you did 13 looks in 18 hours. What is the vibe of this song? What can viewers expect? What can listeners expect?
Sex, 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 honey. I am finally going for it. I have held on to the song for 2 years because after I made it, I just was like, I work with kids and, I'm already known as a drug addict. So do I really need to add that now she's a whore to it? But I decided, yeah, I did. WAP went viral in the whole world. And I thought, well, if Cardi B can sing about her wet then so can I. So, darling, get ready, get the lube, get your blanket, because it's going to be a messy, messy number. And I am just so freaking thrilled to finally be myself and to just show people the sex positive individual that I am. And, you know, I've always wanted to be a sex icon like a Marilyn Monroe. And I just can't wait to finally be it and to own it and to show people, because it is really hot. I got some very exciting cameos in there as well. The models, the dancers, unbelievable. All the set pieces, the art direction that both Robert Heyman and I did together as a collaborative process, beautiful, turned out great. I think it's a really hot video. In fact, I edited last night with the editor because, of course, I see the project from start to end, all the way through. And we got the first minute laid down, and it's just incredible. I mean, you know, Robert and I literally storyboarded frame for frame. Like, I'm insane. We had 189 shots in our storyboard. We got 136 of those, so I'm very proud of us. We only missed a couple, but luckily we have so much footage, obviously we'll be able, but it's like literally like there's a part of my song that goes ching, 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 ching. That's 4 different shots. So it's like, it's just insane. It's just insane. I can't wait. I'm so proud of it. I think the caliber of the art is exactly with Look at Me, and it cost, I mean, you know, Look at Me cost this much and this one cost this much, but it's still amazing piece of art. And I'm just really proud that during quarantine, we were able to create this. Just so people know, everyone was COVID tested. I have to give a huge shout out to Maven Cannabis Company, who provided the money for the nurse to come in and test everyone. Obviously, since we were being highly sexual and intimate with one another, it was very important to me that we all knew we were safe.
Now, that's going to be out on November 30th. So that's going to be in a couple of days. And
at 11:30.
At what time?
At 11:30. So 11:30 at 11:30. She kept it very easy for y'all to remember.
I love it. What do you think the biggest misconception of Laganja is?
I try not to think about that stuff, Gorge, because it's just like I said, like, I just can't take it anymore. But I don't know. I think that, like, what, I'm a drug addict, or that, like, I'm just a melodramatic freak. I don't know. I mean, people can think what they want. At the end of the day, I know who I am. My best friends know who I am. My followers know who I am. So misconceive all you want. If you want to know the truth, it's out there. I'm very vulnerable and clear to this day. I don't hide anything. I talk about everything. So, you know, if there's a misconception, it's because they're just not watching.
Yeah. What's next for Laganja?
Oh, gosh. Well, I really want to take on this music business very seriously. I've been sitting on, you know, an EP for 2 years, as I said. So after Daddy drops, I will have 2 more coming at you. And it is my hope that after those 2, I will be signed to a record label. I am currently in talks with 2 as of right now. So I'm very hopeful that one of them will sign me. And basically what that means is then I will finally no longer have to be the bank, the star, the technician, the BTS crew. I'll be able to just really focus on my music and be an artist, which I think is every artist's dream. So that's definitely next. As I said, acting and pursuing other reality series is definitely next for me. I want to continue being on television and acting. I would really like to get more into acting. I love it. As I said, grew up in musical theater, so it only feels natural to me to go back to that. Would love to be in dramatic roles so people can see different sides of me and not always be the funny comedian dancer. And then, of course, I want to direct. So I want my own dance company. I want to create my own Cirque du Soleil. I want to, you know, take this brand that I've built and really make an empire. I mean, I think everyone says that nowadays. Everyone wants a perfume and a book. But I'm everyone. So, yeah, I want all that. So I'm ready for it, and I'm willing, and I'm going to try to make it happen.
Oh. And my last question for you, Laganja, is what is a message or words of wisdom that you have for the LGBTQIA plus community?
My message would be to the queer youth, you are the backbone of society. you will become what people want to be. You will be the makeup artists. You will be the creators. You will be the visionaries and the leaders of the world. So believe in yourself, love yourself, take care of yourself, drink lots of water, wash your hands, wear your mask, and just love. Just love yourself and love those around you, because we only, as far as we know it, get to live this life once. And the best way to make the most out of it is to love. So there it is.
Such good words of wisdom. Thank you so much, Laganja, for being here today and exposing yourself. Where can people find you on the socials? Yes!
Come on, expose!
Expose!
No city's here!
Where can people find you on the socials?
You can find me on all platforms at Laganja Estranja. That's LAGANJAESTRANJA, except for on TikTok, because my old butt was too late to that platform. So there I am, the only Laganja Estranja.
Ow, ow. And do you also have a cameo?
I do have a cameo. Thank you for plugging that. Actually, the numbers have been real low over there because I've been so busy. I forgot to do the swipe ups in the story. So please go get a cameo from the doll. I will read your best friend. I will wish your mama happy birthday. I will sing you a song. I will not dip, so don't ask me to do that, okay? Unless you want to send double the fee.
Ow, ow. And for our viewers who are watching this interview right now, if you comment below what your favorite part of the interview is, let me know. Subscribe to this, subscribe to Laganja, go and follow her. Let us know what your favorite part of this interview was, and you could potentially be selected to win a cameo from me that I'm gifting you of Laganja. So let me know what your favorite part is, and you could be a winner. Now, Laganja, thank you so much again for being here. Go ahead and say one more time all about Daddy and when can people watch and listen to Daddy.
Well, absolutely. I want to say thank you to you. I think you have an incredible series. You know, you've talked to so many queens. Your work is truly amazing what you do. I love that you're really able to, you know, be real with us and really get down to the nitty gritty. So I'm very appreciative. I know we've been scheduling this interview for a long time, so I'm so happy we finally made it happen. And yes, to remind everyone one last time, in case we didn't shove it down your throats enough, my brand new single Daddy drops November 30th. And the music video will be dropping on November 30th at 11:30 on my YouTube channel, where I will be live chatting with everyone who participates in the premiere. Woo! Say that 3 times fast.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Joseph Shepard, and that's the beautiful Miss Laganja Estranja.